welcome to the Law of Positivism podcast. I'm your host, Shireen, and I'm the creator of Law of Positivism. I'm here to help you on your spiritual and healing journey. I am a certified yoga and meditation teacher, a student of Chinese medicine, a doula, a Reiki practitioner, and a passionate, highly sensitive person. I want to use my knowledge to channel information and messages for you to grow on all levels. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode. I'm so happy that you're here, and one of my greatest fascinations in life are dreams. I just love to dream and to just understanding my dreams. And I heard Kari Hohne on a different podcast, and she's my guest today. She's amazing at her work. She's a dream analyst and an author, and she explores spirituality through nature. She has passion for ancient traditions, and she has been working with dreams for a few decades now, and she's written books about dreams. And in this episode we talk about what dreams are. She explains how we can interpret our dreams, and she has done a lot of work with people from all over the world for many years, so it's very interesting to hear how we can interpret our dreams. And she also talks about dreams as being healing, and we get into the psychology behind it. And she's an expert in symbols and Eastern archetypes. She's working with the Tao and the I Ching, and she's just, it was just amazing to talk to her. And I hope that this episode can help you to connect more with your dreams and to work with your dreams, to use it as an inner guide on your path and on your healing journey. So I hope you like this episode, and if you do, it means the world to me if you leave a review, a rating on iTunes. I always do an oracle card reading for those that have, so you can screenshot it and send it to me. And let me know what you think about the episode on Instagram or Facebook at Law of Positivism. Thank you so much for being here, and enjoy. Hi, Kari. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Shireen. Thank you for having me.
I'm so grateful that you're here today, and I want to start by asking you, how do you stay mindful and present?
Well, I pretty much just stay in the moment. I don't really, I try not to have any sort of like judgments or any sense of being disconnected from absolutely everything around me. So I'm just kind of walking around in awe most of the time. Just, watching how I'm a part of this greater field. I write a lot about the field of interconnectivity.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I really wanted to talk to you and to get to know you better, and the listeners as well, because I heard you on another podcast talking about dreams and dream interpretation, and I think that's so interesting. So maybe you want to share about your background and who you are to start with?
Okay, so I basically was kind of born, for some reason, understanding dreams or really being drawn to them, because when I was a little girl, I would interpret everybody's dreams. And, I kind of grew in, I'm also a musician, and poet and writer. But I kind of started to, I think my reason for being in poetry, liking poetry, let's say, is I see dreams as that sort of metaphorical language that if you would have been, if like 90% of people read poems, they don't get it, and those people that take the time to allow the metaphor to really stir them, you get a sense of how dreams are working. And I feel like people have a hard time, really, they just dismiss their dream, or even myself, sometimes my own dreams. I think, our own ego has a reason for repressing or dismissing something, and we're dreaming of what we're not facing by day. And so when we look at a dream literally, a lot of times we can't understand it. We have to look at it metaphorically. And then, I went to school and studied psychology, and I found myself kind of, this was, I guess, the 90s, kind of being torn or being forced to choose a path between Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, as if they were like not compatible. And so it's kind of, frustrating, because I like a lot of what Sigmund Freud writes about, or, obviously he was like the first one to really understand the language of the unconscious. But I like how he describes, the way dreams are like onions, or the genius of the psyche to grab that one symbol that can have like 3 different meanings and capture the complexity of a situation. And I like Carl Jung because he sees more of the evolutionary aspect of what's happening with dreams, where Sigmund Freud saw it as a lot of wish fulfillment. And I think there's room for both of them. And so I kind of, I started, I guess I had an online dream dictionary when the internet was kind of just coming on the scene. And my web developer said, you should really build an app, because that will attract people to your website. And so I built an app that interprets your dreams on iTunes, and it like shot to the top 10. It was like, and it was during a time when I was writing a lot about dreams, and publishers were like, well, people don't really believe dreams have any meaning. And seriously, they thought that. But then the success of the app really showed that the early adopters are people that would be into, that. And so now, it probably sounds silly, because I think most people now agree that their dreams are very relevant. And so it's sort of just, I guess I could say I started out just knowing that, but I had to kind of grow up into what the world thinks of dreams. And so I've been, interpreting dreams for people all over the world for decades. I do a lot of it online through email, because if you sit with somebody and they try to articulate their problem, it can go on for days or weeks, or, and a dream can just sum it up really cryptically in one sentence. You can really see what's going on with somebody. And I like using the words because, presenting it back to them. So that's kind of what led me to where I am.
Wow. And I think dreams are so fascinating and such a huge part of our life, because we sleep so much, like throughout a day, and we don't put so much emphasis on it. I think some people don't even appreciate sleep. Like we just want to get it over with, right? But there's so much that happens.
Well, it's the same mind. It's the same mind that's having we could say our experiences are teaching us something. We're interacting with others, we're adopting and changing our beliefs or whatever's going on. It's the same mind. It goes to sleep. The only difference is a lot of consciousness and the body's paralyzed areas that would be ego oriented, or our sense of logic. There's like a lot of these aspects of the brain shut down. They're abated. And so we have more of a sense of wonder in our dreams, but we're learning the same. And it doesn't matter that we don't remember them. It's like the mind is like a digestive organ. So it's gonna eliminate, let go of the ideas that it can't work through, that don't serve, our growth and our strength. And it's going to, take the core of the ideas that make us stronger. And so it's kind of like, it's one mind. It's just behaving differently during the day. It's kind of more left brain, where at night, then it's more right brain. Or I know they don't really believe in the right and left brain so much anymore, but there's this part of the mind that sees life holistically and as the connectivity, how we relate to everything. And then there's a part that's very logical. And that's why right when we wake up, we've been in this sort of spatial realm of symbols and imagery, and kind of an artistic way of exploring ourselves. And then as we wake up and we shift back into that analytical side of the mind, it's completely incompatible. The ego doesn't want to know what we're dreaming about. It's like two sides of the mind, but
yeah. And I think it's you touched on it, but how, like, there's so many ways to describe what a dream is, like what it really is, what's happening when we're dreaming. Maybe you can talk about that, like what is going on.
Well, I feel like when we're young, okay, it's like everybody's probably remembers those dreams of going to school in your underwear, or some, so as we are in our little family unit and safe, then we, are forced kind of to go in and behave a certain way. And yes, that's good. And no, that's bad. And there may be some budding part of our authentic self that is, beautiful and perfect, but because it doesn't fit in, we feel ashamed and we sort of repress it. And then as we grow up, those sides of ourselves, like our authentic being, is going to want to express itself. So I feel like when we're dreaming that side of ourselves, then, for example, a lot of very successful women that were very nurturing as children, maybe took care of the other brothers and sisters, but maybe the mom and father divorced, and the mom might have had, drinking problems, or, for whatever reason, this girl child becomes kind of the caregiver to the caregiver, and there's a lot of stress, and maybe she's called a black sheep, and so she gets really strong, and obviously she's very nurturing, and she grows up and she has an awesome career, but she keeps having a stalker dream. Somebody's trying to break into her house, and that's that side of her that when she was little and heard she was no good, or she's bad, or the black sheep, or whatever, it has to come out and be allowed to sleep in its own bed. So it's sort of like the side of us that's knocking on the door. Hey, I need to be understood, because this isn't right. This is a beautiful part of you, and you need to work through it. So I kind of, so I see dreams as sort of a way of balancing out the things that we repress throughout our life, that really, once we allow the expression, like with stalker dreams, it's funny because I see it a lot with these successful women. The minute that we start talking about it, they stop having the dream. And then, obviously it allows their life to be more authentically present. There is, they can say, oh no, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not repressing anything. And yeah, there was this little chip that, they kind of hid away. And so they're able to live more fulfilled. And it's not like our story was there when we were young. Life is this, blossoming of our authenticity, continuously being shaped and molded. And so, some people would say, well, there's a spiritual aspect to dreams. The angels are speaking to us. I know there's a lot of ancient texts, like even the Bible and Genesis, and the book of Job, say how God speaks to us in dreams. And, we can say the higher self, some part of us knows us better than we know ourselves when we dream. And, but I feel like it's more of a natural mechanism. I feel like we're born with this seed that we're going to blossom into. And just as a plant might have something that's limiting its growth, it's going to have to turn a little bit to face the sun. And between our daily experience and our dreams, we're able to really reach up and become the highest expression of what we're capable of.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because also recently I had a experience which was sometimes I have it feels like some dreams are very strong and so clear when I'm meeting let's say a friend or a family member or something like that, and I had such a clear, sometimes I can have dreams about others, things that they are experiencing, but maybe I'm not that consciously aware on the conscious ego level. But I dreamt about my friend that was going through something, and I got like confirmation afterwards that those things were happening. Like the person could understand directly why I was dreaming those things. So I think that link is also interesting. How do we work with dreams like that?
Well, I have a couple of books about dreams, and one is the Mythology of Sleep, and it sort of looks at dreams as sort of the mythical tales, like you're the hero of this fantastic adventure. And I break the dream down into 3 parts, and you see this when you're dreaming of something and then all of a sudden it morphs, but you have a sense that it's the same dream. And so the first aspect a lot of times is describing the conflict through the symbols. And then it morphs into something else, and it can relate to childhood or, your home you grew up in, or, so you get a sense of the symbols that are describing what this is rooted in. And then the third portion often has, the aha. And I always say the craziest part of a dream, the part that you want to dismiss, is the part that's richest in, transformative clues. But it's in that third portion that I often see a prophetic quality. So, and again, like I was saying in the beginning, I write a lot about the field. I mean, we have a sense of points in space, time. We're stuck in this sort of place of what we know and what we can actually tangibly touch. But we see, even if we study weather patterns in Africa that become a hurricane in Louisiana, there's this big membrane of connectivity. And I feel, and then again, as the mind is not a different mind, somebody else's mind when we're dreaming, and then our mind when we're awake, we're capable of so much more. And I really feel like we can get a sense of the future, because in some level, science tells us it's already here, in the past, that our sense of time is. So in terms of reaching out and connecting with those, that have passed, or friends that we have now, or, synchronicity. And that's another thing that I see a lot when I do dream work one-on-one with people, and every single one of them will see how synchronicity increases for them, because since they're paying attention to their dreams, they can see that, wow, my dream's been really revolving around this acorn. And then, everything is that they see then the next day, or, it comes back to that symbolism. And it's only because, it's only because they've been really, working with their dreams that they see that. So the thing about your friend, we have connections that we don't really understand, but I believe are there. But I also feel like I feel like that when we're dreaming, the mind is trying to understand itself through symbols of everything that it can draw on. And a lot of times the other people in our dreams, like Brad Pitt, he's a big archetype for people in their dreams, because he represents a masculinity, the anima, let's say, for the woman, that power to to provide for herself. And yet there's a sensitivity about him. So he's a real good symbol for blending the feminine and masculine. But, just because other people appear in our dreams doesn't mean, we're supposed to call them the next day. The dream often isn't about the other person. It's about the qualities that we're exploring and how they relate to us, whether we're adopting or discarding those qualities. So.
Okay. And how, so one thing that happens is that some people, they can recall a lot of dreams, and maybe every day, and some people are not feeling like they're dreaming. I'm wondering, because usually if you have a dream, you wake up, you can remember it clearly for a very short period of time, and then it fades away. Like, how can we keep track of our dreams, and why do they fade so quickly?
Well, what I find too is it's kind of like yoga. You can go into yoga and get into, downward facing dog, and you've never done it before, or your body pushes back, and, and you can start whining and decide that you don't like yoga, or, you can breathe through it and, do it for a few sessions until your body's able to accomplish the poses. And I feel like, when we do make the choice to start working with our dreams, it fast forwards our growth. It fast forwards our evolution, because we're working with some side of us that's in alignment with what we need, where we're going. And so it's that sort of discipline that we would say, okay, I really want to remember my dreams. And just doing that seems to make us remember them. Or we get a book or a writing tablet, something to put by the bed. And we have, and as I was saying before, because we're dreaming using a different part of the mind. Now, I'll say this again. The body is paralyzed for everyone when we sleep. And that keeps us from acting out on our dreams. So it's as if, there's a design to all of this. And then and the parts of the brain that are associated with self-consciousness, ego, some of the logic portions, they're all shut down. And so we're more of this like open-minded witness. And then these symbols just flow freely of the mind looking at itself through all of these imaginings, let's say. So you're in this really creative space of like, I'm not afraid to let go of that thing I thought shamed me when I was little, but because ego is always looking around to see what's wrong or out of place, it's like a very, uptight little part of our mind. So the minute we start to wake up and we shift back into that orientation to life, it doesn't want to know all that. It's found a way to stay safe. So like, don't disrupt it. So just that sense of wanting to know more will help us. And I also find that when people start working with me, it's almost like some part of them knows that there's someone there that can interpret. I don't know if you know who Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea, the Indian lady that helped, or the North American native that helped them, translate with all the tribes as they were exploring, what used to be the old United States. But, it's like I see myself as Sacagawea, that I can translate this language of dreams. And it seems like then all of a sudden, they may only sometimes remember their dreams. And then they send me books of dreams, like they remember everything. So I feel like it's really, it's really that, like, I know there's a side of me that, and you feel it sometimes because you'll wake up and a dream will be so bizarre that you remember it. And there's a reason for that. It's like, I see it like the Trojan soldiers that used the horse or the Greeks used the horse to break into Troy. It's like there's this wall that our dreams have to press beyond. And sometimes they'll use these bizarre symbols, and it seems, so the next day you're thinking, why did I dream about a lady with forks in her hair or something, but there's a reason. There's a message in all that, and sometimes the bizarre symbols are able to make it back into waking consciousness. So when people say, how can you remember your dreams more? One is before you go to sleep, be that same openness, just like you're going into yoga. Yeah, it's going to hurt, but I'm going to, I want to know more. And then when you wake up, this is really key. Do not analyze anything. Like try to stay like, and even if you only can capture one symbol, usually the dream is repeating itself. It's the same message in different landscapes. And so if you can just remember one thing and then write it all down before you analyze anything, because the minute the mind starts analyzing, it becomes more of that left brain, I like to call it, logical side. And so, just bit by bit. And part of it's just proof, I guess. Once you have recorded your dreams and you see that they're so enlightening, you make more of an effort to do so. And I'll say this too, is like, even though we're not remembering our dreams, there's still change in us. We're still, it's like that digestive organ. So we don't have to remember them. And for people who say they don't dream, that's not true, because anybody that goes into REM, rapid eye movement sleep, you can see the eyelids are flickering because dreaming is taking place. Everyone dreams. And anyone who doesn't dream, that there's diseases that cause this. These people, you can get into psychosis. People can die from not being allowed to dream. So it happens for everyone. And like you were saying, we spend so much time sleeping. Yeah, almost half of our life. But it's like a third of our life minimum. We're in this state. Even animals are doing this, and so there's definitely some healing properties to dreams, and we are all dreaming.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I've also started having the practice of writing the dreams down, because it's interesting to see over time, like, what's going on. And maybe certain time periods are related to certain themes, and I think it's really interesting. I love dreaming. It feels like I'm in a different world, and I can see different places that I haven't seen in real life. So I think it's really like a adventure. And then, I mean, some dreams are one of the I think the most uncomfortable things are these when you have this sleep paralysis, but you feel like you're awake. I had it a couple of days ago, and I felt like I just woke up in the night, but I'm like in bed, but then strange things starts happening. And I'm like paralyzed, I can't move, and then it becomes very uncomfortable because usually there's someone else there that is maybe it can be like
Yeah.
a ghost or a demon or something like that. So I was really scared, and usually I wake up from that state. So I don't know what that is like.
Well,
Can you
remember I
explain
was
that?
saying that the body is designed to be paralyzed while we sleep, because if we're dreaming, we're not going to, if we think we're like reaching out and grabbing something, our arms aren't meant to be flying all over the place, you know, and so every night we are paralyzed in our sleep. And sometimes, and it's very common, you know, you can achieve a sense of wakefulness. Maybe you heard a noise. Maybe, you know, I know one time I woke up, or I was dreaming of a lady yelling in a closet, and in the dream I'm thinking, what part of me is like in a, you know, not being expressed or whatever. But then I thought, oh my God, ego. and there was a scorpion
Yeah.
next to my head on my pillow. I swear to God, I was camping,
Oh,
and it was like some part of my body was screaming that there's a scorpion. You know, I mean, I literally woke up. But anyway, I'm just saying something can trigger you know, the mind or whatever to wake up before the body has released that paralytic feature. And because that dreamy mind is so powerfully nebulous, so imaginative, anything's possible. It's like, you know, because that mind is still at play and the body's now paralyzed, then of course all our fears and you know, they can take form in the sense that, oh, there's something sitting on my chest, pressing down, trying to smother me, and no, I can't yell out, I'm trapped, and it's just basic sleep paralysis. And there's not, you know, and that's another thing, you know, I always say, you know, nightmares are a positive sign that some very valuable part of us is waking up within the psyche. You know, so there's never any bad thing going on with dreams, even if it's, you know, I mean, I've seen it all, believe me. and when people write me with nightmares, I always, you know, try to really respond right away, because it's like, don't be worried here. There's some really, you know, good stuff that's trying to be expressed. And sometimes it has to take the form of that, wake up. This is so bad that, you know, that you remember it, you know, and so.
very interesting. Yeah, and it's hard because they do, like, dreams affect us so hard. I think sometimes it feels like you're more like all emotions get enhanced in the dreams. So everything that you feel in real life becomes so like so big in the dream. So it does affect
And
our
well, yeah.
emotions,
Well,
right?
that
When we
was what I
wake
was
up.
saying before about poetry. And, you know, I think of like, all right, that it's that Robert Blake, I think the poem Captain, Oh Captain, his father's dying, right? And but instead of saying, oh, I'm so sad my dad is dying, or, you know, he writes like the ship, like you get the sense of the command that his father had and the life that they shared together. And it's very, you know, so when you hear a poem, it's more of an emotional expression of something. And that's what dreams are doing. They're using metaphors. They're using a symbol. For example, can I talk about the two dreams that you mentioned? Okay. So in your
Yeah,
first dream,
yeah.
you were talking about the landlady upstairs, you know, and again, like you have to look at all these
Yeah.
symbols as representing, you know, in a house is our paradigm. So the basement can be things that we're digging to uncover. The kitchen can be where we're looking for more fulfillment in life. Even though it's food, it represents kind of a greater sense of fulfillment. The bathroom, often we dream of that setting there's a very common dream where you have to go to the bathroom, but there's no walls, can relate to intimacy, being truthful, revealing ourselves. So each part of the house, if you can be in a familiar house with a strange room, which can be you exploring potential. So if you're in your house or, living space, and there's a lady that's above that, that could relate to your higher self. And I think in that dream you said they had opened the ceiling, which is symbolic of opening up to more possibility. And then the symbols that she's throwing down through that ceiling opening, I think it was like a water first, which is like the emotional, let your feelings go. And there was like tires that had to do with motivation and how you're moving forward. Maybe, like there's this free flowing sense, right? And I can't remember was there anything else in? Pots
like
again.
Pots.
So pots are things that we cook in that nourish us. And so when you look at all the symbols of that dream, you could basically say, your higher self is trying to help you open the ceiling. Sky's the limit. This has to do with how you're moving forward. Car, your tires move you forward. The water has to do with allowing your emotions to really be a part of the work that you're doing, maybe. And the pots is also relating to like how you're nourishing yourself by what you do, what you're cooking up. And so that was kind of the first dream. Now, normally you'd say, oh, that was so stupid. The landlady threw all that stuff, and you just dismiss the dream. But look at all the relevant material that's there. And then maybe a week later, you mentioned that you had a dream of, it was the glass to the forehead with the chip in it. Okay. So now we're back to the water again. So I already know in 2 dream sequences from you that your emotions are very a very important part of your work. That you have to really feel passionate about what you're doing. And then now you've gone from the landlady that, or the lady upstairs, maybe the higher self, is like out of the blue, this like barrage of things come pouring through. Now you're physically taking a glass and holding it to your forehead. So you were saying that dreams evolve. Now you're owning that and you're putting it to your forehead. And when you say the glass is chipped, it gives me a sense that, well, maybe you're being too critical. Maybe you're being, you're not just letting things flow and, but then again, now your blood is flowing on your clothes and your feet and all the people. And so that's that free flowing sense. And when we talked, in the middle of all that, you and I had a discussion, and I believe there was like a tiger on a leash, which really sums up the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's a very passionate, part of you that you're restraining, maybe unconsciously, maybe you're not even aware of it. And that's why then these dreams are like trying to take away the limits that you place above you and stop, and you scratch your head with this chipped glass because you're being too critical. You need to just like let it flow. And so that's that sort of like, that sort of guidance that comes in different stages. And when I work with people, I watch them then go from these conflict and guidance oriented scenarios to once it takes about a week before it starts to make its way into experiential reality, the things that we're exploring in dreams. And as we change, as our outlook changes, our dreams change. And in between that is where the synchronicity happens. I see this all the time. There's something that we're working through that seems so foreign that when I repeat, when I'm doing the dream interpretation, the person is like, they don't get it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, it does start to make sense. Like they're able to see how their dreams are giving them a message that they would naturally want to block, let's say. And then as they allow that in, synchronicity will bring an opportunity for them to actually, a person may appear and ask them a sentence that says the same thing the dream was doing, as if then now in daily life, we have the opportunity to go, yes, that works for me, or no, I don't want, and so then we sort of like, we begin to evolve. And then the dreams that we have, and that's where I see them move more into kind of a natural setting, a house made in the woods and a tree. And, as we get more natural and grounded, and there's not these chase and fight dreams, and there's not these cars being out of control or choppy waters in a boat. Now we move more into sort of, this blossoming of a more natural side of us. So I've worked with dreams for 30 years, well, since I was little, but, professionally for so long that I see it doesn't matter where we live in the world. They're the same theme, the same, the symbols have, a meaning. There's a reason each of us chooses our symbols, right? So you can't just say the symbols are universal, but you can pretty much see that we all go through the same journey.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I think also you mentioned that dreams can be healing. Like how do you see that, dreams as healing?
Well, they're always healing us because they're helping us release our self-defeating ideas. So, if we, like I said, the lady that's very successful, and she's got, she's been able, because she was such a great caregiver as a child to her siblings, obviously she's, she is able to care for herself. She may be living, drinking too much, or, there might be something going on where her life isn't, or she's not able to accept love into her life because her sense of self has a wound, right? And so she can't really open up. So she then attracts partners that aren't going to commit because she really doesn't want to commit. She can say she's a victim of men leaving her, but some part of her can't show up in the relationship. So the healing in that stalker is so that part of her can come sleep in its own bed. So in all dreams are healing us, in that way. And sometimes, we can see like the psychosomatic symptoms that, illness, if you're talking physical illness, a lot of times has a, like they use the word dis-ease. We're not easy. We're not, so a lot of times the things that are wrong with us physically, we're going to the doctor, but they can't figure out what's wrong, but we're feeling this, or, a lot of times it can have like there can be something wrong psychically, or not psychically, but, we feel emotionally, or that something's wrong. We're having stress or whatever, and it can create these things. So again, if dreams are revealing what we're repressing, what we're not facing, what we don't understand about ourselves, the more we dig into them, the more we are able to free the entire essence of who we are. Like that little girl that I was talking about that cared for everybody. The whole world would be clapping for her, you beautiful little thing, but she can't know that, right? Until she's, so she's having these stalker dreams of this, this bad side of her is trying to get in, and she has to heal on her own. She has to come to that place where she recognizes, and a lot of the work I do with people, obviously in dreams, are going to relate to stuff that happened in childhood or parental stuff, or, and our parents, didn't come with instructions. They're just human beings. And I love that Cahill Gibran poem about, your children aren't your children. You're the bow and they're the arrows, and you just have to shoot them out into the universe. And I think if people can recognize that our families, our parents or whatever, they weren't perfect, and we can just see them they did the best they could, and get beyond that and live our own lives. And I also love to talk about the idea that in evolution, there's actually like the reason that we're not even like our siblings. If you look at it, the sexual reproduction took the binary fission of replication of things and made it so that two individual things could now make a third that's completely different, right? But then with our siblings, you'd think, well, then if we're, we should all be alike, but we're not, because only elements of the DNA, come over. So even among our siblings, we're nothing like them. Our family unit is always there for us. It's the hearth fire that we can always, come back to. But when we're not getting along with our siblings, nature designed that, and it designed it so that competition for supply in close proximity would be limited, that we would end up going a little further away, and you see it when little seeds come out of trees and whirl themselves far away from the tree, or dandelion pods blow, or, little spikes jump on the fur of animals to get further down the road. And, does that make sense? So it's like there's no part of our family that we have to conform to. We're unique. And that's what's so beautiful about everyone on this planet. You're the only one like you, and only you know what it means to be fearlessly who you are. So that's where dreams really, that's where they become key, because they become that conduit to that genetic, seed of our complete unique nature and how we can understand it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And how can people work with you if they want to explore their dreams and understand them better?
I have a course that it's Nature is a Guru, but the course Live Green and Blossom. You can find everything about me on my website, Cafe a Soul, and I think you'll put a link or something.
I'll put it.
But in that particular course, it's like a 1.5 hour video course of it. Kind of covers that whole idea of kind of everything I've been saying, but it drills into two of the modules. Really drill into dream interpretation. So I think that's kind of like and it keeps dream interpretation in context to what our lives are about, and also nature and why this is all happening. And a lot of my inspiration is really drawn from observing nature and all that. So, on my website, you can find a link to that course. That's a good place to start. The book, The Mythology of Sleep, is for somebody who really, would like to work with people in their dreams, or really understand kind of the deeper aspects of dreaming. And each chapter looks at the survivor. And I look at like Isis in Egypt and all of their myths, and how, that you get a sense of that family dynamic that leads to that survivor archetype, let's say. So each chapter is an archetype, the warrior from Norse mythology, or, and it's kind of like, so you get a sense of how the symbols work, and you get a sense of that creative aspect of how dreams are spinning the story of this archetype that we're living out, which is also another part of dreams that I see, is even if people have no sense of mythology or ancient writings or whatever, I'll have, like, I remember one guy wrote me, and there's something about Anubis, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right, but that like dog-headed Egyptian character, or it's like you can have these archetypes appear in dreams, even if you don't know anything about it. But then as you start digging into it, you see that there's some relevance. So, and Carl Jung, do you read any? Okay. So he wrote about the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
And, the idea that at some level when we're dreaming, we're pulling on some ancient database, and it's like, it's sort of, if we dream of these, kind of like your landlady becomes the higher self. Well, the higher self can be represented by the wise woman, the older lady, or it's very common that when we are going through some sort of transformation, a very common archetype is, oh, I had a dream that I had this baby. I didn't know whose baby it was, but I was having to take care of it. And that's representing this rebirth, this new side of us that we're now, we've gone through some sort of transformation, and now we have to care for this new budding side of us. So there's these themes and archetypes, and, and then also, there's a section in my site. People can submit one dream for an interpretation, or I have two different ways that I, work one-on-one with people. One is very comprehensive dream work where I'll look at up to 5 a week, and we really drill into them, and you learn how to interpret your dreams. This is where synchronicity really takes off for you, because you are so, working with your dreams. So I have that course. And then I offer $60 sessions that people can buy a group of 3, and we look at one dream a week. We look at, if they like some of the other things that are on my site, or like the I Ching or Tarot, or, so we can look at readings in conjunction with dreams. And so, yeah, I guess on my website, you can find all that.
That's amazing. I think your work is so beautiful and so important. And I think it's great that all of us can have the opportunity to start working with this aspect of life, which is pretty big as well and significant.
Have you been remembering your dreams a lot more?
I do, but I've always had, or as long as I can remember, always remembered when I wake up. It's very rare that I don't remember dreams. Maybe I'm waking up at a time that is really, I sleep lightly as well. I don't know, but yeah, definitely. What I think I remember them in a deeper way, because I also write them down now. So I get more details out of them than before, because then just after a couple of minutes, I would forget big parts of the dream.
And then when we were talking about seeing the dream as every part of it is representing you. So if you go back to the dream, and then as you're interpreting it, there's a part that, if you look at everything as representing you, well, what does this mean to me? How is this symbolically capturing some element of my life? And that's where I also have that free online dream dictionary on my website. You can then, it helps because a lot of times we can't get objective enough to look at the symbol. If we're just looking at some, like you said, the glass of water to your head, or, so if you go to the dream dictionary, and you can look at, and a lot of my dream dictionary is really Jungian based. You'll see as you read through it, there's I come from kind of the same point of view. So then, if you unpack the dream you wrote down, and you remember that everything is you, and you're using more of an objective interpreter. I also have that app on iTunes. You can type your dream into the cloud, and it gives you all the links. But and that's called Way of Dreams. Just so you, I think it's like a little. There's like a moon and a boy, or not like DreamWorks, but some. I don't. It's like he's blowing a dandelion. But so yeah. So I mean, I'm just. Nice. I think that even though you can remember your dreams and keep writing them down, it's being able to get to that really objective, does my mind want to teach me something, or does some part of me want to grow? And what would be the message? And what is this symbol? And again, just I want to say, the part of the dream that is the most bizarre is always the most important, because that's where you get that Freudian idea of condensation, where if you peel it away, that one symbol often can really be the answer to some challenge that you're facing. It can really, you know what I mean? Like your lady with, the hole in the ceiling, or.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much in that. I honestly didn't know how to interpret any of that until I talked to you. So I think that's great to get that insight and to learn how to. Yeah, there's so much. So you have so much experience in this for so many years. So you really
so what are you
give
studying?
great insights.
You had to go to lectures.
Yeah, I'm studying
Lovely.
Chinese medicine, a nursing program also. So I've studied some psychology when I studied business many years ago. So I love taking the psychology parts into.
Are you going to become an
dream work
acupuncturist
as well?
Are you going to study
Yeah.
acupuncture? Okay. Yeah, I
Yes.
studied that at one
Yeah.
point. Obviously I have a lot of
Exactly.
Taoism on my website. I have the I Ching, but I
Yeah.
was like,
Exactly.
I'm more of a communicator, not a quiet person but I love it. I love that you're doing that because I think it's a
Mm.
very effective science or art, whatever you want to call it. But that's great.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I just had a podcast about Chinese medicine and acupuncture too, a friend of mine here in Stockholm. So, yeah, I think it's really, and also in dreams in Chinese medicine
Mm-hmm.
are connected to the heart. And if you have like a lot of nightmares and like dreams that are a little bit disturbing you, it's like the Shen, our awareness, our consciousness, or our soul is not anchored in the
Mm-hmm.
heart because it has to anchor in the heart throughout the night. So that's also interesting how like the heart affects
Like the physical body and
the
digestion,
dreams as well.
the Sandrao,
Yeah.
which is funny because I don't know if you've read anything on Wang Tzu, because well, you've probably heard this though, right?
No, I
So
don't.
he's one of the
Yeah.
ancient Chinese masters of Taoism, and so there's Kung Fu Tzu, which we've all heard about. There's Lao Tzu, and then Wang Tzu, but he's the one
Mm.
that wrote about. He had a dream of he woke from the dream and he wasn't sure, or I can't remember exactly, but if it was about a butterfly. So he didn't know if in his dream he was a man
Mm.
dreaming of being a butterfly or a butterfly dreaming of being a man. And the idea is, and this is what I love about his writing, because I feel the same way too. We have a 24-hour experience, and he didn't see any separation between what we're dreaming and what we're experiencing. And the more we let go of that illusion of that boundary, the more that
Mm.
life takes on that sort of wonder that. So as he wakes up, is he the man that dreamt of being the butterfly, or was he the butterfly and now he's dreaming of being a man? You know what I mean? So it's kind of, yeah, I love
Mm.
Taoism and Chinese,
Yeah.
ancient Chinese philosophy. Well, that's great. I'm glad you're studying
Yeah.
that.
I love that. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm so happy that you took your time to share with everyone about your work, about dreams. I think so many people will find
Well, I
this
appreciate the
very
opportunity.
interesting.
Thanks.
And
It's been
do you
fun
have,
getting to know you and your dreams.
yeah, yeah, I know there's so many dreams as well. And do you have anything else you want to share before
No,
we
I would just
close
say that,
the
if
conversation?
we could just see the state of wonder that we're in when we're in our dreams and try to be in that same state as we're walking around, where everything is a mirror of us. So there's no sense to protect anything or defend anything. Everything is teaching us something. I think it makes life a little bit easier. And in the same way, nothing bad is ever happening in dreams. Chaos is the face of change, and it can be painful, but it leads to growth. And so no matter what's unfolding, just know that, life's been taking care of us since the day we were born.
Thank you so much for listening, and if you want to learn more about Kari's work, you can go to her website or Facebook page that I've linked to, and also her dream course that I have a link here in the show notes too. And let me know if you have recurring dreams. You can comment on the Instagram post or on Facebook, and yeah, check out Kari's website to learn even more about this. It's so interesting, such a huge part of our lives. We sleep so much, so we can take advantage of that time as well. So enjoy and have a beautiful night's sleep. Take a deep breath in and exhale out. Namaste.